Hi guys, Jerry from Fight Commentary Breakdowns. We got a special guest. This is Justin. Now, Justin, he's beyond just a regular MMA guy because we can call him a jack of all trades that when he's in a traditional establishment, he feels like an MMA guy, but when he's in an MMA gym, he feels like a traditional guy. And that's how we bonded because I'm very much like that. In my Muay Thai gym, I'm not completely Muay Thai, but when I go to a traditional place, I sort of cringe at some of the stuff and I end up sort of looking like a Muay Thai guy or looking like an MMA guy. So, anyways, Justin, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Seriously, this is awesome.
And so let's talk about your journey. What did you get started with training?
So I had done like a little bit of karate and taekwondo and stuff like that when I was young, like birthday parties and getting to like go with friends to classes and that kind of stuff, getting like introduced to the idea. And then obviously, I don't know if this is everybody's experience, but there was Taibo tapes everywhere. Right before I went into high school, there was a boxing gym moved into my town and it was cheap enough and I could literally walk there and nobody had to drive me. So they were like, this is an easy deal. And while I was there, somebody was kicking a bag with their shin and they were barefoot and they were the only one in the gym like this. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, well, I did everything I wanted to with boxing. And so I took a year off and I moved to Thailand and I learned Muay Thai and I'm gonna get into MMA now. And and when he says, by the way, like I did all I wanted to with boxing, he just like gestures to the wall and his pictures everywhere. Like he just like has won all these like fights and stuff. And I'm like, oh shit, that's crazy. No, sorry, YouTube language.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's okay. One S
Um,
word's fine. So if you occasionally drop an S word, it's totally fine. So yeah, feel free to drop S words once in a while. It's
oh,
fine. Yeah.
no, I know, but I work with children. I'm trying to kick the habit.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, like he showed me like he explained to me what Muay Thai was and like the difference between like a Thai kick and a karate kick and started showing me like stances and the footwork and that kind of stuff. So I started easing into it and then my gym moved, but I thought it closed. So I was like, I need something else to do. And was like, I was taking every book, every DVD from like all my friends that had done something before. Um, because a lot of my friends had like grown up doing martial arts, but then just weren't doing it anymore. And I was just like late to the game. I uh like I wasn't allowed to watch Dragon Ball as a kid. So now I'm in middle school and Dragon Ball's on and I'm like, I have to watch every episode. Like so same thing. They were like, "Oh, I did karate as a kid." And I was like, "Okay, well, I didn't get to do that. So give me all your karate." And then finally I found a class to fill my time with and I was working at the time, so I could afford to do it. So that's when I started doing Tang Soo Do. And I did that, I don't remember junior or senior year of high school, but like towards the end of high school, going off to college. And then while I was in school, I just like did everything I could to talk to everybody I knew. Teach me, show me what you know. I like just started like buying books and DVDs and watching like relentless YouTube, which is actually how I found your channel. But I while I was there kind of like started a club and we were trying to get it sanctioned by our school and we started the process and then like we got held up by the insurance. They just didn't want to do it. But all of us who were in the same boat of like we're freshmen, we don't have cars, we like martial arts and we did martial arts and we don't have anything around. We're in the middle of nowhere. So we had like a club and we would just like exchange. So there was I had a friend from Vietnam that had done Wing Chun and a friend that had grown up doing Kempo and someone doing Taekwondo. And so we just got together and we were like, oh, well, this is how we kick. Oh, well, this is how we would do that from there and just like showed each other stuff. So I'm still terrible at like sticking hands, but I still try. Um, and
So,
then,
I'll just interrupt real quickly because
yeah,
that Taibo thing really got me laughing because I do remember Taibo. In fact, my middle school gym one time tried to get the entire period, so all the different teachers tried to get together and get people to do like Taibo from a tape, and it didn't work well. They never tried it again because like I don't think people were interested. And at the time I was doing kung fu and I did a little bit of karate, so I
sure.
was just sort of like, well, I guess they're trying. So I was following the movements, but I wasn't into it either, and I was sort of laughing. Like I remember it was like a black dude. I think he had like pink gloves or like pink
Billy
shorts. It was
Blank.
like, yeah.
Billy Blanks is a national treasure in my opinion. I had no I like I love him. I think that he's the best. I think he's an underrated action star. And I didn't know this. He was like before he did Typo and before he did like movies, because he was in a bunch of like straight to video movies. He was like a point karate and like a kickboxing champion and had been like a boxer. And I was like, this like he's a
Wow.
legit martial artist that then did like basically made cardio kickboxing.
Yeah. Wow. I'm looking at him as you gave the name. Thank you. Finally, I finally have the person's name. Yeah, he won bronze at the 1981 World Games. Wow.
Like he crazy gifted martial artist and he's doing a bunch of stuff. I don't know if you like I don't know how into martial arts movies you are, but there's a couple that like stand out in my brain that he was in, like and Blood Fist, which is like a blood sport knockoff with Don Wilson,
Dude, I
which
gotta
I'm allowed
watch
to
this
say
movie. This
because
looks awesome.
it's
Wow.
it's definitely a ripoff of Bloodsport and you definitely feel it, but it's okay because Bloodsport's good.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Wow.
And like everyone in it is like reputable. Um, and largely because of that, I don't know if you um follow Viking Samurai. I don't know if you know this.
Yes.
Or like Jason Brandt has a channel called like So Bad It's Good. And there's a movie coming out called The Last Kumite. Um and I was really trying hard to get in it and I did not do the stuff in time and then I could not afford like the tier that got me like in the movie, which like still hurts my feelings because like it's the action movie. Like it's I know nothing about it. This is maybe not going to age well, maybe it's not great. I don't know. But it's like a star-studded cast of like all 80s action stars getting back into it. And Billy Blanks is going to be in it, which is why I'm saying it. But like
Wow.
Cynthia Rock, all these people. So I'm like, this is like an 80s, 90s action movie now. Like it's a martial arts tournament movie
Wow.
now.
This is great. I'm
I
so glad
wanted
you
so
told me
desperately
about
to be in
this.
it.
Wow.
Oh, it's crazy because it's like a crowdfunded project too. Like it's somebody's first time producer, but like a bunch of really like reputable like director of photography, people who've worked on things. Like everybody's just like how they explain it is they just kind of came together and were like, I miss martial arts movies. Wouldn't it be nice if we had those the way they were? And so they just kind of agreed, like, yeah, let's just do it. But because it was crowdfunded, they had like tiers, like donation. Like, you could be a producer credit, or you could come to set, and then like the highest one was like you can be in the tournament as a fighter. I was like, I don't have that kind of money,
Wow.
but it
Wow.
still hurts. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get you on fight commentary breakdowns as much as possible if that counts. So,
thank you,
you know,
thank you.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's keep going. So, freshman year, and let's clarify. This was freshman year of college.
Yes,
Okay,
yes. And
freshman
I
year of
only did
college.
2 years of college, and then I left, um, more or
Smart
less
man,
because
by
I
the
was
way.
like,
I wish I left college after 2 years, man. You know, I a lot of people know I went to an Ivy League school, so people are like, "Why would you ever smack talk an Ivy League school education?" And it's like because I could have gotten the same education without paying that much money. Ivy League doesn't matter. Like, can you imagine what you had to deal with if you went to a 4 year school and like you didn't have that Ivy League cred? Same education, but like you don't have the Ivy League cred. Like it's a basically a waste of time. Anyways, you keep going, please. Please keep going.
no, it's okay. I'm happy to hear more. I honestly, I actually really like. I liked what I was doing at school. I liked my teachers. I made so many friends that I should be better about keeping in touch with, but I like loved what I got out of college because it taught me that I didn't need it. Like it taught me a bunch of things that I needed to know that I wouldn't have known otherwise, but I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't gone. So like I originally went for like biochemistry. Um and then I was like I only like work. I'm falling asleep in class. I don't like this. I'm gonna do something else since I'm already here. And so I started doing like film and acting, and I was like, I'm gonna take every film acting and movement based class they have. Um, so like they offered Tai Chi for credits. So I was like, I'm doing Tai Chi, like absolutely. Like I'm doing a martial art at college. I'm getting credits for it. It's great. Um, and at this point, I have my car, so I'm like driving back and forth between home and school and going back to Tang Soo Do and starting doing other things too, which I'll happily get back to. But I I left college for like a couple reasons, but one of them was had to audition for a show, and I really, really thought that I got it. Like I was naive and I didn't understand how many steps there are in a casting process, but I was like, all right, I'm on to the second step on this TV show. I'm gonna go film, and I'm happy to say what the show was. It was Power Rangers. I always wanted to be a Power Ranger, and I'm like, I'm going to school for acting. I'm doing martial arts. I want to be a Power Ranger. Like this is the best opportunity. And like they had like gotten to the next step. They're like, oh, like great submission. Do you have any more photos of you? Where do you have a passport? And I was like, great. Like I just can't wait to hear from them. And then nothing. Crickets. But at that point, I'd already left, and I was like, well, it's probably a good thing because it would have been really hard to do film and acting and martial arts stuff with also the college debt of 2 more years of this. So I decided to leave, and when I'm back, I just dived in head over heels, like on martial arts for everything. I worked a job that I did not enjoy a stupid amount of hours a week so that I could afford to train however, wherever I could, every seminar I could take. And but before I left college, I started doing other things. Um, that's when I got into like MMA. I had an MMA gym in my town. And the owner was like a at the time a UFC fighter. He's since retired. But I'm just like, oh, like that's like the most reputable guy. Like obviously he's gonna know a thing or two. And I was doing like boxing, so I could understand combinations better and how to apply them because I had a karate tournament coming up. And I was like, oh, I really want to know, like, I want to have an edge. Like all these guys, they all do karate too. So I need to know how to do stuff that they don't know how to do and put it together better. Um, and then I got back from the tournament. He's like, you should do jujitsu. And I was like, I don't think I need that. I think we're fine. And he's just like, you should just try it. You should just come. And I left with so many fingerprint shaped bruises and so many just covered in sweat and going like, oh my God, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I absolutely need this. Because as it was explained to me, if you are facing somebody and they know how to wrestle and you don't know how to wrestle, it's no longer your choice whether you're going to wrestle. So I was like, okay, even if I never intend to go to the ground, I really need to understand all of this so that I don't have to. Um, so I got really into jujitsu, and I would, or not, but I'm more than willing to admit I'm a bad practitioner, practice enough compared to how often I'm there at the gym, don't do enough jujitsu and want to get back into it. Just don't enjoy it as much as the other stuff. Um, so anyway, I'm starting to do jujitsu. I do that karate tournament. I'm okay with how I did, but I'm not the happiest about it. It was my first, and I wanted to do more, so I started doing Taekwondo because I had grown up friends with the kids of an instructor who had a school nearby. Like everybody I knew who had done Taekwondo had done it through him, so I went to him, and his name was Matt Randall, and he had since closed his school, but he did private, so I was just like throughout the week picking my days for like what I was doing for martial arts. It was like, what can I fit into my work schedule? So it was like jujitsu, like kickboxing, mitt work, karate. When I say karate, I mean like Tang Soo Do. I use them interchangeably. And like by Friday, it's like, okay, I have Friday off. I'm doing my Taekwondo lesson after no-gi before I go back to gi, and then I'm gonna end the night with karate. Like I was just packing my schedule in with everything I possibly could. And so at this point, uh, after doing enough of a mix and getting now like not just doing Taekwondo because I just want to get better at kicks, like I've decided to like I'm gonna commit to the program and I want to learn the system and get belted and everything. Um, I run into somebody at my gym that he actually teaches, or at the time taught the Muay Thai program. And he was like, "Hey, like you have like a square stance. I appreciate that." I was like, "Yeah, like I'm more of a karate person though." He's like, "I know that. I can tell that. I teach and I have a chain that teaches karate and we need instructors, so you should apply. So I taught karate for a while and I left the job that I was at. And then the pandemic hit and I was no longer needed. And then they asked me to come back and I was like, okay, the pandemic's actually happening though. Like before we didn't think it was real. Now like I'm watching people get sick and I know that the parents don't believe in this and that the kids are sick all the time. So I have elderly people in my life. I have people predisposed to things like my girlfriend has an autoimmune deficiency. Like I can't just introduce this danger into my household if you're not taking the precautions. So I was not asked to come back again. Uh, I tested for my black belt in Taekwondo during the pandemic. Um, and since then, I've just been focused on Jiu Jitsu and Muay Thai and sprinkling in karate where I can. So I do go throughout the week. I It's into my schedule. I'm so tired all so I am probably everybody's worst student, but I'm trying to be a student of everyone. So that's probably why. Uh,
Yeah, I love what you said about, like you're everyone's worst student, but in a way that's best for your journey because you're learning
right,
from everything. But everyone wants you to commit, right? Like when I was doing capoeira,
right.
I knew
And
I
I'm like,
wasn't gonna when I was doing capoeira, I knew I wasn't gonna continue only doing capoeira. And of course, most of the people who are too into capoeira would be like, "Fuck Jerry," for lack of a better word. I'm sorry, I know you're trying to forget the cursing, so I won't curse either. But they're like,
no, no,
"F
no, no, no.
Jerry."
If you
Yeah.
do it, I can do it. I didn't want to be the one that decided for you
Yeah.
that this
Yeah.
video was going to get struck.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The way
Um,
YouTube's thing works now is that like I think within the first half a minute, don't say any curse words and you're fine. If it's like 20 minutes down the line, you say an F word, it's fine because Mr. Beast got interviewed on some of these interview channels and like by the middle they
yeah,
were cursing. So I'm like, okay, as long as I follow what Mr. Beast does, I think I'm okay.
yeah. No, if the number one guy can do it, just follow the leader.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't
exactly.
like what the exact is, and then at that point, like in the video I make from now on, it's like it hits that time. It's just fuck.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what it is. Exactly. I don't know how most capoeira schools do it, but my school, it's like they only promote during what's called batizados, which is like, think of them as like you invite other schools and you guys all dance capoeira together, like a battle. Batizado basically means battle, but it's not a real battle. You're like dance battling, right? But knowing
Well,
capoeira,
it's
they get really into it. They get like sometimes fights do actually
right.
happen.
Well, I'm sure. So like I think that's part of it too, is like what do you consider a fight? And it's like rules, where do the rules fall? Because I got into kind of like a debate with a friend of mine about this because he's like, yeah, I've like, I'm fighting, and I was like, we're at a karate tournament, and it's point karate. He's just like, yeah, but I look at this as a fight, and I'm like, okay, well, I look at this as tag. But he's like, it's his mindset towards it, and he's just like, no, no, this is a fight. It just has very specific rules. So I'm fighting, but I'm fighting with the limitations of the rules. And I was like, okay, I like that. That's a good way of putting that.
Yeah. Um,
So then I yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, the mentality. By the way, for those of you watching, there's a little bit of a delay. That's why sometimes we're speaking over each other. So for those of you watching, wondering why we keep speaking over, it's because there's a little bit of a delay. But I'll just very quickly say that
Because I'm
you're
rude. Because
what's up?
I'm very rude.
Exactly, because
Just because
Jerry's
I'm
rude
very
and Justin's rude.
because
So this is what happens when two rude people do a podcast. So very quickly to piggy off your point, it reminds me one of the most funny but cringe videos on my channel is remember those two Tai Chi masters doing the push hands? Like one guy named Jan like treated it too much like a fight. Like he had his fingers taped, he had a rash guard, and the other guy, Nico, which I would argue understood Tai Chi much more, was much more about flowing. And Nico ended up winning. But like anyone
Right.
at the scene because my camera didn't capture it all. Like every time Jan lost a push hands round, he would like run around the mat, hit himself in the face. And everyone there, they were like jujitsu guys like you, Justin. Jujitsu guys were there watching, being like, what the heck is up with this guy? He's taking it
Why
way
are you
too
like this?
seriously.
No, and exactly. And actually on that note, so at this point, like I do jujitsu and I should do more, and it's mostly because knowing how to teach kids, uh I was invited by my coach to teach the kids classes at his gym. And so at this point, like I'm a jujitsu white belt. He's like, you're just assistant teaching, you know how to work with kids, and you're gonna be like I basically was like a professional uki for a while, just a victim who could explain things, and that's it. And then I like worked through and I got my blue belt, and now I need to get back on like track of progressing and advancing again because I've gotten a little stagnant and I have to admit it, like I'm not gonna keep an ego about it. I'm not the best jujitsu person. I understand how to explain things more often than not, and I know how to like talk to kids. So I teach jujitsu through the week. And I help with the Muay Thai program at my gym. And right now the main coach and the one that runs the program is out for a while because he's on his like fourth knee surgery, but he'll be back soon. Um, which has led to other opportunities. But I'm basically only there to train. And on the note, like too seriously, this year I started really like amping it up what I would do for like competition. I'm like I want to learn everything. I want to experience everything. Partially just because like I do want to fight. I do want to get to the point where like I am considered like a full contact and hopefully like professional fighter in some capacity. Um, but I want to be able to answer anything that somebody asks me. I have the credibility that like while I'm teaching, somebody asks like, oh, what from this perspective, and I can just have an answer because I've done it. And then I could be taken more seriously and have more opportunity because of it. So this year I've done like a tournament every couple weeks with a few breaks in between. And I finally got to do like a full contact thing. I did a Kyokushin fight. And I had already signed up to do a point fighting tournament the next week, like before, because I didn't expect to do the Kyokushin thing. It just kind of fell into it. So I went with my legs still like chewed up and everything and not really feeling it. And I just did not put in any effort. And I feel bad for that. But I just was like, I am here to workshop things. I am here to have fun. I already paid to do it, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be respectful to people here to like put in the effort to like make, get to my stance and try and land a few things. But I'm like, I'm not trying to win this. Hopefully I win this, but like this is just a fun time for me to work on things. And the other guy was like heated, getting it like really like I feel bad for how I'm going to put this, but at one point I was like, you were putting in too much effort. And it's not that I don't think that like I think that there is a way to do point fighting seriously. And there is, I've seen it. Um, and there's a way to make it like applicable to other things and to still have like structure as a martial artist that is applicable to other things. I'm trying to phrase this as PC as I can because I'm not trying to offend anybody. I understand why point fighting is the way it is, and I get it. Um, but he's just trying the same thing over, right? And it's not working. And it worked, and four times it's gotten him like countered with me not doing anything. So finally, to demonstrate that he's putting in too much effort, I just stopped hitting back. So for like, I have like a clip of like 20 seconds. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it's only like 5 seconds. But I'm gonna kick, and I like pat it away. And he's like, I'm gonna punch, and I pat it away, and I'm just parrying and moving, like taking one step, like parry and one step for like 4 or 5 consecutive times before finally like I got like wrung out and we had to get reset. But I'm like, you're doing too much. And you saying like he was taking it way too seriously, the Tai Chi guy just made me think of like this guy was like so heated, so invested, and then like so I ended up unfortunately losing that match, just like by a point at the last second because I don't know, I didn't do more. And my friend ends up phasing final and thing. So he's trying to do this like jumping. It's not a Superman punch. It's like a mountain punch. Like you just gotta jump and punch over the top. So he's like, I'm gonna do a jump front kick, and then if that doesn't work, I'm gonna do the mountain punch. And it's like super telegraphed. And full respect to the other guy for his experience, him going on his and deciding that he's gonna get this highlight reel thing. He's gonna make it work. But he just didn't. And it just wasn't. So every time he did it with me, I just reached my hand out so he would run into my punch. A couple times I like stepped off and did it. One time I did like a step off and I did like a side kick. Like I was just like, okay, like you need to understand that this isn't working for you. So now going against my friend, he does the exact same thing again, and it still isn't working. And finally, like he just waits and throws a jab and like knocks his head back a bit, like stop it, break. He's like, like I have a headache, I need a break, I need water. Like, can I go get water from the stand? And so this match with like a 2 minute timer is now taken 8 minutes because he's just like getting like a reset break. And I'm like, you got tapped in the face with the jab and you signed up for this. You knew what this was. And same thing, like later on, same move, same exact moment in that match, runs into a front kick. He's like, oh, I need to stop. Oh, that was too hard of contact. Like, I might be sick. And gets like another like water and air break and everything. I'm like, this, can we just, there's a reason we're not taken seriously. And I'm recording a video. So I've like got my mouth guard in so that I'm not like saying things from the audience. Um, It's just a wild time. I'll send you the video
Yeah,
so that
please
you
do.
can understand because it's mind-numbing how many times you can try like you know the definition of an insanity.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Like
exactly.
it's been months and I'm still hung up on this.
I mean, the Tai Chi tournament, I was telling you, it's been a year at least. Maybe, how
Right.
long has it been? It's been at least a year, and I'm still thinking about it because nobody else in that push hands, it was fixed step push hands, okay? So you get pushed, you step out, or worst comes to worst, you fall, okay. This guy not only taped his hands and had a rash guard and would hit himself and would take breaks if he lost a round every time. He had a mouth guard too. You talked mouth guard. I remember that he had a mouth guard too. He put in a mouth guard. Like he acted like he was doing a jiu-jitsu tournament. You guys
He was
are
like, protect
having your
yourself at
hands
all
on
times.
each other doing push hands. Like calm the F down, man.
He's like, no, this is gonna get heated. I gotta be protected at all times in case this goes sideways.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
inevitably win, he and his buddies are gonna gang up on me, so I have to be ready. I have to just unreal.
Yeah, unreal. And I love what you said. Like this type of behavior by certain people, they don't even realize it, or maybe they realize it. It really makes the entire thing look bad. It's like if your level of commitment is way too serious compared to what it should be, that just like makes everything look bad, man.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't take it seriously. Like I even was being disrespectful with how seriously I wasn't taking it. Like I understand that there's a little level of like respect that you need to have for like some tradition and you have to adhere to the environment you're in a little bit just for like respect. You don't have to agree with everything, but it's just like so I get that. But people don't I don't know, they're not able to like take a step back and realize how that looks too. Like if you're not willing to be open-minded about things, you're setting yourself up for failure down the line.
Yeah, exactly. I think what's really interesting just talking to you, like you seem like such a chill dude, right? And even that aspect sometimes like that's a thing that sometimes whether at a traditional gym or at a more modern combat sports oriented gym, there's always just someone who you're just like, can you just chill out? So we're going beyond just the tournaments and
Yeah,
everything, just in practice. There's always that one person who just takes it way too seriously. And like, you'd seem like somebody who'd be really fun to train with. Like, we'd know how to
thank you.
spar light, we'd just talk, we'd have fun, we'd learn from each other. But like, I'm sure you've dealt with people who just take it way too serious or even find your attitude. It's like, why is this guy always so like just like, like this?
With little exception, this is essentially my attitude all the time, even when training, and I could see how that would be a problem. And coming from tradition, I'm like super controlled contact when I'm like at the MMA gym. Like, so I actually get yelled at all the time. Like, I get beat up for it because they're like, "Hey, no, like we're not gonna necessarily like hurt you, but like you need to be giving us a little more feedback so that we actually have something to protect because we're not gonna respect this." And I'm like, "No, you see how like I threw it at your head and I didn't want you to run into it, so like I just held it back. Like I was trying to be a nice guy about this. You knew that I landed and we could move on." And they're like, "No, you didn't touch me, so we're not playing that game. You're getting hit for this." And then conversely, like I go back to karate and I make a little bit of contact and I'm now the rough guy asshole that you're talking about. With this attitude, with this exact like demeanor, I'm the jerk combat sports guy who's taking too seriously, who like I don't know, I'm some kind of animal because I watch and I like that's just like a legal street fight. Like you can't have a street fight with rules. They're just brain damaging each other and it's just a bloody thing for no reason. But like then you go to the gym and they're like so chill. They're so calm. There's like the two guys that, you got to really consider the rest of your weekend if you're going to spar them. But other than that, and just the contrast between the two is wild.
Yeah, exactly. Um, recent experience I had with a traditional martial arts gym that was trying to update itself. I went to a what's called Mudo. Again, it's like Korean karate, but they were trying to incorporate ground stuff and they were trying to
Yeah,
incorporate more kind of heavy bag work and stuff like that. So
cool.
it's I mentioned this because there were still some cringe things about it, but there's some cool things too, right? And knowing how you've kind of experienced a lot, have you seen any the more traditional schools have tried to maybe adopt some of the modern stuff?
Yes. Yes and no. And I'm gonna be careful about like how I don't want to speak ill of anybody. I've seen both an attempt to adapt and almost the opposite, like we're gonna dig our heels in more and we're gonna go the old route. So like my Tang Soo Do school, my instructor was like military guy, police officer, was there in the 70s in like the blood and guts era. He's like, this is how you do it to make it work. He's like, there's what the book says to do. Here's what we have to teach you. Here's how you make it work. And like, so he's always been like that. So then I go to other schools and I don't realize that it's going to be like a little bit more of like a lighter, family friendly approach. Not that it's not a family friendly school. There's people of all ages, but it's like you go to schools and it is that like kind of safe space almost to its detriment. Almost. There is like, people are improving and they're learning things and it's okay to not everybody needs to be a fighter, but I think that you should know how to defend yourself a little bit to a degree of confidence. Um, but the place that I used to teach karate and I have no ill will there or anything. Like we didn't really like part on bad terms or anything. It just, didn't work out. Um, the system that they had, despite being like an Americanized Japanese karate, um, they were doing it so that the week, um, like it switched week to week. On 2 days a week, they would either have sparring days or they would have jujitsu days. So even though it was a karate place and they're doing like hammers and palm heels and you're practicing your horse stance and everything, and you still do like point sparring, they would still incorporate like, okay, we're gonna do mitt work, we're gonna do bag work, you're gonna do like sparring with like a certain degree of like sweeps and like leg kicks were allowed. It's just it was still like controlled in a karate way. But I was like, okay, because it's like it was Kyokushin based, but it was very like Americanized Kyokushin. So it was not an insult to either American schools or Kyokushin schools, but there is a difference. Um, this is like an American freestyle karate place. And every other week they would do jujitsu. It was like the expertise on jujitsu was limited, but the kids were actually like grappling and doing takedown defense and sprawling and that kind of stuff. And I've it's really been impressive. And um, the guy that I work with now, like most often, he is the striking coach at Nostos MMA, where like I teach and train, and it's his program. He grew up doing karate and boxing, and is now like integrated at Muay Thai and has like a Dutch style system that he teaches from. So when he's working with the kids and when he's explaining things to people, he's coming at it like a martial arts instructor, like a Shotokan instructor, because that's what he did. And so the kids are like really like disciplined about it, but they're learning Thai. Like he'll show them very strict, like you're gonna do the like the square stance, and you have like more of like a hop step and like checking and all that. But then when he spars, he's like a bouncy sideways karate person. So they've kind of picked up on both organically. He's like strict Thai in what he's teaching them because he wants them to understand that's what it's supposed to be, what they're doing. But we give them enough wiggle room to like use their own bodies and what works best for them, that like somehow over time, some of these kids are naturally becoming more karate, Taekwondo people that just happen to know how to check kicks and keep their hands up. Because like I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems like kids are really like, I mean, kids kicks are at like a higher tier than like most adults. They just don't have anything else to work on, and they have like less damage to their bodies overall. So like even though we teach like teeps and chopping round kicks and everything, they're doing side kicks, doing hook kicks, they're like doing like spinning back kicks. And I mean, we've shown them like bits and pieces along the way, but they've just picked up on it enough that it's almost like the inverse. Like at this MMA gym, modern combat sport, they're doing like they're integrating the karate. I think everything's getting like a little bit homogenized in a way that I'm liking.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love kind of hearing those stories you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people. I mean, even on my channel, I see people that make that bladed stance work, right? And I
Yeah.
know there's some people they just can't make the square stance work. I used to think I wasn't able to make the square stance work, but then I got a better Muay Thai coach, and now I'm better with the square stance. So I'm like, I'm like I'm actually sort of like this with like gloves now, and then I'm. It's really funny, like coaching matters too, right? That's something I didn't
Yeah.
realize. Like again, I love your attitude, by the way, Justin. Like you've got a really good attitude, and I don't ever want to, especially in this interview, talk ill about my coaches. So what I will say, the caveat
That's
to my
fine.
first kickboxing coach was that um he taught me a lot of great stuff, but he wasn't able to teach that Thai style to me. So he improved my kicks amazingly. He made it so when I got into capoeira, I was amazing. And like he gave me basic confidence to start sparring again. And he helped me incorporate certain boxing things I was learning into my kickboxing, but he wasn't able to impart the Thai style to me. My current Muay Thai coach is like pure Muay Thai. Like he's the type where he saw some of my videos where Muay Thai lost, and he told me, Jerry, those aren't real Muay Thai people. So he's a little too far the other way. But to his credit, he's really taught me the Thai style well. Like now, like I never thought I could be like a Muay Thai guy like this. Like like when they come close, I'm here. But like I'm doing all these like weird Muay Thai parries and stuff that I never thought I could do.
Right. Well, so it's almost like every time that I have gone somewhere else, it's never been an intention of like the grass is greener. It's that I'm like trying to fill too many eggs into too many baskets. Like I am trying to get more baskets than I have and put more eggs into them than I have. I want to do it all. So like even though I have probably like a boxing freestyle karate base, I'm definitely probably more of like a Tang Soo Do person in how I move and how I do things. And I like that as a base because it's very karate, but very kick heavy. Um, and the reason I bring it up is despite the fact that it is mostly point sparring, and you'll see a lot of people do like the hands down sideways, what they teach is like in the tradition, it's very much like a square, like a Thai stance. It's just the difference of instead of both hands are up, like one is at your chest. So then like going from a Muay Thai to that and then back to a Thai gym, I was like, oh, I've never been a sideways karate person. This is easy for me. And now I'm trying to become more of this because I'm like seeing how it works better for me, even though I'm not used to it.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It's so funny that, and this is why I love this kind of journey that the MMA world, the martial arts world, the entire fight world goes through. Because for a while, until someone demonstrated it works in the ring or in the cage, they would just like completely dismiss, right? They would completely dismiss a whole set of techniques or a whole style. And then,
Correct.
like, when Anderson Silva teep kicked and knocked out Vitor Belfort, then everyone started, oh yeah, you could throw those kicks again, and then people started teep kicking more. You know, like simple. When Lyoto Machida made that, or now Wonder Boys is like, 2.0, but when they made that kind of bouncing around bladed stance work, then everyone's like, oh, you could potentially do that, right? It's like, and capoeira too. Like people are able to make capoeira work, and it's like, oh,
Conor
okay, so like it's not just
McGregor.
complete dance.
It's kind of like a I mean there's a pro and con, good and bad with everything. And I I'm trying to not be too cynical and jaded about it. I feel like as much as I used to be oh, look at this guy. This is the example. This shows that it works. I'm now seeing the consequences of that too, which is like the total justification in people's head. Like, oh, this stuff works. You see how it works? See how the one person made that work? Because like karate and taekwondo, very much like as respectful as my gym is, I think compared to other places I've been, there is still kind of a somewhat dismissive attitude, and I get why. There's still like kind of like yeah, but you're just doing that, and it's still that for like everything. Like most wrestlers, I assume, are going to be like, yeah, but like you don't know how to wrestle, you know how to do this stuff. But then you suddenly have to face a Wonder Boy or a Yair Rodriguez, and they're like, well, they're so tricky. They could kick from anywhere, and they could switch stances on you, and they start naming all the good things about like karate, taekwondo, kung fu, and it's like, why is it? Why isn't this how you treat all of it? And then you see the other side of it, which is, oh, well, these people made it work because they adjusted and they're the outlier. Like, something I don't know if you've noticed this. I mean, I've noticed this somewhat from your videos, actually. There's like this thing about Taekwondo where, and full respect to my like friends that do it and everything too, and a lot of like Taekwondo places, even if they train very seriously, and even if the sport is pretty close to full contact, there's still this like they don't necessarily have the chin toughness of getting used to being punched in the face. And you see like what that does because like you're doing it all, you're making it work, you're doing your kicks, you're doing your body punches, and then you get in the face and they're like, oh my God, like and they deteriorate. And I feel like Yair Rodriguez is almost like okay, what if you could get them to bite down on their mouth guard and tough it out? So now he's like applied that Taekwondo philosophy of like I can kick or I can strike from any angle, from any stance at any time to now the rest of it. And like same thing with Wonder Boy. Like he's a karate guy, but he's like a karate guy who's like, well, you still need to move out of the way of leg kicks and you still need to adjust for like takedowns and like they've implemented what they do into what they're doing versus other people just trying to be like, I tried to be a karate guy at an MMA gym and it did not work. I'm now making it work because like I figured out what like I learned what they do and how to make that work for me or how to work around it. And now I'm able to do what I do. So like when I started, I was like, well, I already know how to punch and kick and I spar all the time and it'll be easy. And outside of having a hole for like side kicks because people aren't used to them, um, I was just getting like beat up for a while. And I was like, I don't really know what it is. And it's like you might learn how to do the punches and the kicks and everything, but you don't necessarily know the best time to use them or how well they work for you, depending on how much of like a hard spar, light spar, pressure testing kind of class you have.
Yeah.
Um,
That's I love what you said, and it's important to I love that word outliers, right? You look at the outliers and in a way they even more prove the practitioner than the style. Because that
right.
outlier, if he or she trained some other style, probably would take
Probably would have made
that
that work.
exactly. They would take the exact approach, be like, okay, here's the rules of the fight. Here's what I need to cover all my bases, and now let's try to make it work. They're not trying to be like, oh yeah, I'm only gonna do this and it's gonna work. They're like, okay, these are my foundational bases, and then I'm gonna add it on and figure it out from there. And like Silala's the probably the first person we
Yeah,
brought to everyone, right? Like he
I
keeps getting
love him.
criticized for not being completely Wing Chun, but if he's gonna
But he's
make it
making it work.
work, yeah, if he's gonna make it work, he's got to adapt a little. Even if his foundations are all Wing Chun, he's not gonna look completely like Wing Chun if there are takedowns, if there are kicks to the face, if people hook, right? The
Yeah,
the
like
classic
look,
criticism: Wing Chun can't
I
deal with
love Ip
hooks.
Man. I love the Ip Man movies. I love them. It's not going to be that. It's just never going to be that. And I'm sorry. Like I love them, and it's great, and I love what it's done for the art. It's just not going to be that. The way it was explained to me is that way like Wing Chun and I have the same problem for Wing Chun and Aikido is that they're both a piece of a whole. It's not that the technique is bad. It's not that even like the way that you are training is bad or anything. It's that it was really only supposed to be a single aspect of something that became a whole art unto itself. So like Aikido, supposedly this is a quote that I'm stealing from like Rokus from Martial Arts Journey. I don't know that this quote exists, but it was supposedly like Aikido was supposed to be like 90% striking, even though they teach none. And he was first teaching Aikido to people that were like already martial artists, already warriors at the time. So he's like, hey, you who knows how to fight and hurt people, here's how to not hurt people. So the style is literally how to hurt people if you already know how to. But then people don't know how to. And then they try and make it work. And there's either the argument of like, it's not for fighting, which it isn't, or like, of course it's gonna work on a fighter because they do it. And it's like you didn't do all this stuff. Like Wing Chun is like it means like in transition. So for like that clinch mid-range, it's awesome if you know what you're doing and you pressure test and you know the different angles at which you could apply it. But at this range and at this range and on the ground, it's not going to work for you because it's not meant for that. It's just a piece. Like the Shaolin people are doing like 8 things. They're doing Wing Chun, but they're also doing Sanda and Shuai Jiao and hard body conditioning. Like I've met a few people who do Krav Maga that are like, you hear Mama? You hear Mama
Oh, you
coming
got
home?
Dougie. That's your Dougie.
He's been
Oh,
asleep the whole time. He's such a good boy.
oh, that's cool.
He just heard the door open and he perked up.
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend's been gone for the weekend, so she's probably gonna come home in the next few minutes and he's gonna lose his mind.
Cool.
Uh, for the better. It's great. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's cute to see him when like people come home.
Yeah, and we can get her in a cameo too. Kind of like that time I interviewed Ruckus. Ruckus, his wife made a cameo, right? We get a second cameo
Yeah.
of a significant other.
And she's a martial artist too, so
Oh, cool. Did you guys meet doing martial arts?
I would like to tell you yes. I met her at my brother's wedding, and then we bonded over martial arts. She was like, "Oh, I grew up doing karate," and I was like, "Cool, I do karate now." And she said, cool. And then that was it.
Wow.
And she was like going to school for acting, so she'd done like stage combat and was like very invested. And she comes to the gym with me sometimes. She's white belt in jiu-jitsu and she likes it. She just doesn't
Wow.
doesn't do it very often because she's busy, and that's fine.
This is actually a really cool segue, by the way. Let's talk a little about stage combat and like movement for the camera. That's something that's
Yeah.
very interesting because a lot of people don't like we see all these action movies. We don't know how much planning, how much choreography, how much cinematography goes into selling a hit, right? And I'm
Oh,
sure
God.
you've seen movies where you're like, come on, it's too obvious you didn't really hit him.
Yeah, no, like I'll never forget the Luke Skywalker front kick, but there's so much going on, you don't notice that. Like it's fine. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. In Return of the Jedi, there's this famous Luke Skywalker is fighting people on the barge at Jabba's palace, and he runs and he jumps up and he does a front kick, and the person falls, and there's like I think that they know where the camera was going to be angled to be focused on what, because they're like a foot away from each other. But at the time, like Boba Fett's like flying by with like a jetpack, like you don't notice it because there's so much else going on. But if you see it, you're like, you didn't even touch it. What is that, like a force kick? Like, what did you do?
I gotta look at this. I didn't know about this, so thank you for
Oh
telling me
my God,
about that.
this is so funny. Like, I mean, all credit to, I mean, that movie's a masterpiece. It's fine. But like this one thing, people like have given them an unbelievable amount of shit for.
Wow.
Um, yeah, you were okay, so you were talking about like the amount of time and stuff it goes into. Like I've been in a few independent productions at this point, and I got to be in a movie over the last year that I got to help do the fight choreography for because there's going to be a couple scenes, and like my character, I got to have some influence on what my character was like in the movie. So he had been someone at my uh, someone who had done some training of mixed martial arts, not like a fighter, just had done training, and we got to shoot at my gym because of it, which was nice. And got to like do fight choreography, like rehearsals there. And so there's probably less than 2 minutes, or there's less than 4 minutes of fight scenes in the movie. You can, um, and it was weeks of rehearsal, like hours a day to make that work because we had to make sure everybody knew how to fall safely, what strikes should look like convincingly, because some people had martial arts backgrounds and some people didn't. So it's like, okay, how do you make this look good? And then how would your character do it? And then let's make sure you're at the right distance and then the right angle. And then do you know how to fall safely so that we can get to the next point? And then, okay, the camera doesn't look good there anymore. So we have to change that different angle for this. Your character needs to get from point A to point B in this 3 minutes. So you got to figure out how to eventually make it over there so that we can get on with the movie. And it was just like, it was an unbelievably like fun process to be part of, but it took a long time.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, um, for some context, like, it wasn't like a superhero movie, but superpowers movie. It was supposed to be like the real world and people had like power, like abilities and they were like kind of like related to each other, and there was a trade-off for like each power. So like my person could go back in time a limited amount. Um, but they couldn't use that ability again until they got back to the point in which they went back in the first place. So like if I go back at noon, I can go back to like and I go back 10 minutes, I can't use my power again until that 10 minutes gets me back to noon, no matter what I do. My character was like a white belt in jujitsu. And in the opening scene in the movie, I'm like, I beat um my friend Mike, who did the fight choreography with me. Like he and I worked together, and a few other people on the set. Like I'm not trying to keep them out. Khalil did great too. Um, in this introductory scene where you meet like my character, I might be getting this out of order. I might not. It might that you meet me. We're like training with each other, and he's you always know what to do. How do you get out of this? So he's like a blue belt, and he's bigger than me, and you can see that he's like he's got me. Like he should be on my back, and it should be done there, and I just like get out of it. And so the context is like for the character, like I have done this so many times over and over again to figure out how to get out of it that I just don't get beat in class because I've used my power to just always know the escape. So I'm like a white belt in jiu-jitsu because I haven't put the time in real time. But over so many years of doing this, I've probably accumulated like hours and hours of extra training that nobody else has. Um, so it's like a fun thing to like factor into the movie. So like I have like the muscle memory of somebody who's done this, but I have the knowledge, and so I can like in this like initial scene where like we're training, I like escape from like an almost fully sunken like rear naked choke. I just like roll out of it and like take to his back and do like a paper cutter, and he's just like, "How? How did you what? How do you always know?" Hi, him. Hi, buddy. You want to go see Mama? You missed her all weekend. All right, that's fine. Yeah, so anyway, that was like a really fun experience, and it led to other things down the line too. I've gotten to do more stunts and more like fight choreography stuff, and I'm hoping to do more in the future. I've got a few things that I'm I'm outlining. Like I really want to write something that I can like pitch to a studio and get a budget for. But I'm hoping to do more of that in the future.
And so you obviously you want to continue with MMA, and you
Yeah.
ultimately also want to continue with the acting. So do you think there's always going to be that fusion? Like you're probably going to always be doing acting that involves action, martial arts, or tell me about kind of the next
Well,
step, so to speak.
probably. I mean, like I said earlier, too many eggs, too many baskets. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I am just continuing to buy baskets, and I don't have enough eggs for them. Um, I I I'm hoping to. I mean, I'd love to do other things. I'd be happy to audition for other things that aren't just like action, martial arts, stunts related. But I also, those are the movies that I watch. I would love to make the kind of movie that I would want to watch. Um, and I'm hoping to do more with that in the future. It'd be great to like get more people that I know that know martial arts and are interested in movies to together to do some more like independent stuff together. Maybe kind of revive that straight to video era a little bit. Maybe not necessarily like I hopefully I don't know, something more in line with A24 and not necessarily canon, but you know, canon was where it was at. So yeah, I'm hoping to do more with that. I like I keep narrowing out on other things. Like uh back when Cobra Kai was announced and they had been shooting for a little bit, I had answered a casting call to be in the tournament scene. And I don't know whether I would have been like in the tournament or I would have just been in the stands. But I was in college at the time and I was like, oh, this is great. This is Karate Kid and this is a really good way to like get my foot in the door. And my teacher, what one of my teachers was like, you can't go because I'm doing a test that day and you have no other time that you can make it up. And if you don't do that test, you will fail this class. So like I couldn't drive. There's probably two because my piece of shit truck would have died and I would have down there. But you know, there's like little things along the way. Like I'm just gonna try to not be hung up on the what ifs, but I was like, so close, like so close to Power Rangers, so close to Cobra Kai. I I auditioned for a show for a network and I unfortunately signed an NDA, so I can't say too many details without probably getting in trouble and not being asked to do more things in the future. But I had made it to like the last steps of the audition process, and was like really in contention for this lead role in a show that was going to be very action and martial arts heavy, and I'm hoping that it still is being made and is coming out. I haven't heard anything about it since getting the part. Look forward to that. Will air on the streaming that shall not be named. Um, yeah, I'm hoping that this will lead to other things. And I think that it'll probably always be together. I don't want to do anything but martial arts for the rest of my life. I'll do what I have to. I mean, God forbid I get to another point where like you just kind of have to like bite down and do whatever you have to do to make the money and pay the bills. But for right now, I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure that it's still martial arts related. So
Yeah.
like I have a day job that isn't martial arts related, but I'm teaching in three places to still make it so that what I'm doing for work is still, what I enjoy.
Hmm. Where in the country are you, by the way?
Oh, New Hampshire. I'm in
Oh,
like the seacoast area, like Portsmouth, Somersworth, Rochester, all around. I'm I live in Somersworth, but the job that I have for a day job is dog training and like pet care place. So I am dog sitting very often, and I'm currently dog sitting. I've been in Rye for the last few weeks, and it's not a bad gig.
yeah, yeah. I
But
wonder if
yeah,
there's a
the
way to
mostly New
incorporate
Hampshire.
the dogs or something into your martial arts videos or something. Like do some funny
Oh,
wrestling or
I'm
something.
hoping. I tried. I mean, I'll do stuff with him, and it's so fun to he will wrestle with me and do stuff. I tried. I tried so long to get a video, and I'm not giving up on it, but it makes him nervous, so I don't want to scare him. I had like a kick paddle, and he does paw like really easily. So I was trying to get him to paw the paddle, but every time I was coming at him with this thing and it wasn't something he could chew on, he was like, what is that? What are you doing? Like, and just got really nervous. But I'm hoping I could do more with it because he's got good jabs.
I was trying the same with the dog. I was trying with like the pads, right? But it's the same. Like if it's not something they can chew or eat, and you just like put it in front of them, they're like, I don't want this. They
Yeah,
start
he
running
really
away.
like it was so weird. Like there's so many things that he's just like, whoa, what is that? No, no. And just like, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The reason I'm asking you where you're at is especially now, and I think the coming years, it's going to make it easier for people who have a camera and have a passion to just make stuff. So definitely I'm
Oh
going
yeah.
to encourage you, like, just if there's any people local, just like get a few people together. I think that's where the world's going. Like there of course will be big budget Hollywood productions always, but I think the quality of Indiewood or what you called the direct to video stuff, that stuff's going to go get better and better. And that's
I
really
mean,
encouraging because everyone that's had a dream of doing something camera wise will be able to do it in the future.
the movie that I was just in, Rooks, came out this December, and it was all filmed in New Hampshire. And the director's in New Hampshire. He released it on his own stream service. It's on a website that like you can find it's Aigu. It's not a word that I pronounce well. Aigu.com, like AIGU. Um, but it's his streaming service. Like
Wow.
he has really gotten to know like other local like directors and producers, and the other movie that I'm in is A Sense of Balance that I was talking about, like that I've started to do, or that I'm almost done my part in. It's all filming in like the Boston area.
Wow.
Almost everything I've done has been like in New England.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that it's just going to start like the independent scene. You're right. It's just going to keep taking off because, I mean, you've seen what people can do with YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And then distributing it beyond YouTube. So yeah, this is really cool to hear you talk about that. Our man Quan Kicker, the one that inspired me basically to say one day I'm gonna do something related to martial arts. Like he's basically, he's got the other channel, Whirlwind Action, so he's basically just switched to. I mean, he always actually, to his credit, always wanted to just do action cinema. He never wanted to be Quan Kicker, but Quan Kicker paid the bills, and that's why Quan Kicker eventually just said, I need to just not do Quan Kicker because I want to keep directing action cinema. So, if Slug Street Scrappers season 3 ever kicks off, I think we should get you in the running to be in it. So when the time comes, man, I will
Okay.
definitely, we'll get your action reel and we'll send it to him. He's already done with season 2.
Well, I
Actually,
appreciate that.
he's not completely done with season 2 yet, I think. But the thing is, I don't know how many action scenes he might fill, so I don't think season 2 would be good. But season 3, I think it'll be. If he does season 3, I think we should get Justin in it. So
I'm sure that there's a lot of other things that are going to be on hold coming out for a while for no specified reason at
yeah,
all. There's
exactly.
nothing definitely going on in Hollywood right now
Yeah.
that would impact whether or not there is work available for people. But I
Mhm.
think that yeah, for that there's kind of going to be an absence that like independent people can kind of like sweep in.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree, and
I
I
hope
think
that doesn't undermine the goal of the other people doing the unnamed thing that isn't
yeah,
happening. But
yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
but
last question for you then. Do you have a timeline for your sort of MMA journey? Like, do you want to have an amateur MMA fight in 2 years, or do you have any of that? Tell me more about
oh,
that.
I do. And it's kind of like I'm a big comic fan, so like I believe in floating timelines. Um, I have like the vague outline of what I'm hoping to do, and it's always flexible. I in my head, I would love to do like amateur boxing, kickboxing before I do MMA, so that I can really like hone my striking and get that in. And I wouldn't really want to do MMA until I was like I use purple belt in my head as like a stand-in goal for like I am competent enough on the ground and confident enough on the ground that I won't worry about if it gets there. That I could choose to go there if I want to, and I will feel confident in how it will go. So until I can dedicate the time in and be a better wrestler and do that and get to like a purple belt, roughly a level of jujitsu, I wouldn't want to do MMA yet. But I want to keep doing striking sports in whatever rule set is available until I can make some amateur debut and hopefully uh, get myself on the radar of karate combat because that's the goal for me. It's a straight to it's a chance for people who do like traditional martial arts to go right into like being a professional fighter without having to adjust to the rules of other things. Like I um I love MMA and I think it's so cool and I hope to do it, but like I really like the striking. I like the throws and the takedowns. And and the ground stuff is beautiful and I can like explain it to people like while I'm watching with people that like don't necessarily know about it, but like I really like that other side of things. I love kicking. Anybody that knows me knows that I probably like kicking too much, but I love kicking and I love that idea of it looking like a Van Damme movie with the gi pants and the black belts. The goal is get more experience, go to karate combat, and then if I get to my purple belt in jiu-jitsu, then I'll try MMA. It before or after, whichever comes first. But this year I did my first Kyokushin tournament and I really loved that. And even though I didn't win, I like it was supposed to be one round and it went to three, and I made it to the end decision. So I feel like that's something that I would really like to work on and do more full contact stuff and just see what comes first. I want to try every rule set available.
Yeah, I love it. And I think setting the purple belt in jujitsu before going into MMA kind of threshold is very good. I think too many people go into MMA too early. I've been to amateur MMA local tournaments all the time, and I see people who like They might have been a black belt in Taekwondo, but they're still a white belt in Jiu Jitsu. I've seen that before. And it's just, it's too early. You got to
And
be purple. I think your purple is absolutely right. Get your purple and then like do MMA.
I mean, and I get it. Everybody's on their own individual journey, and I think that that's, I mean, more true with MMA than other things because like that rule set allows for so many things that you could focus on a little bit on everything or really hard on one thing, and you'll have different results. Two people could do almost the same thing and have completely different results. Like anybody could win or lose in so many different ways that like, I mean, for me, that purple belt is for my confidence and for my like, I really want to know that I totally know what I'm doing on the ground and whatever is yelled out by my corner, I can either look out for or try and, go for that submission or that takedown. But I mean, there's people at my gym that have been training, not even fighting, training less than 3 years that have like gone on to be champions already. Like it's the common man sport. You can do it. There's two people in my gym right now that didn't start training until right before the pandemic, and they have both unrelated different weight classes now gotten two amateur titles and have made their pro debuts before I've even made my amateur debut. So like I really everybody's on their own ride and they were able to make work for them and I think that I think that it works out differently depending on what you choose to do and what you choose to focus on and different levels of athleticism and all that, sure, but and work ethic, definitely. The one that I need to pick up on, consistent work ethic. But um no, for me, yeah, no, I really think that that purple belt's a good spot to be at.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the karate combat thing as one of the ultimate goals is definitely awesome. So that's perfect. I mean, wasn't there
Thank you.
recently a Tang Soo Do guy on Karate Combat?
There was, and I have not heard anything about him since, and I'm hoping that he does more.
Okay.
I don't know him. I don't know if it what his affiliation is because there's like so much splintering of like the different sects and everything. I'm hoping that I can test for my black belt before I get on there so that I can say that I'm a Tang Soo Do guy. Like I'm belted in different things, but I don't have my Tang Soo Do black belt yet. But I would really love to be like, yeah, I'm a Tang Soo Do guy in karate combat. And it's like, there's the asterisks of like, and he does karate and Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu and like judo and fill in the blank. But like, I would love to get more eyes on it. I think it's this odd thing where like if you do it, you're like, of course, everybody's heard of it. It's one of the most popular sports, but it's like I don't know about you doing martial arts when you grew up. Like a lot of people don't know what martial art they're doing. All the signs say karate, and that's just, yeah, I did karate. Like you don't know that you're doing Shitoryu, Hawaiian Kempo, whatever. Like if you really paid attention and you know your instructor and you're still doing it, you might know the lineation, but like a lot of people don't know what they're doing. And I don't mean that in like they don't know how to do stuff. I mean like they just don't know the background. So like I didn't know um I knew that Tang Soo Do was a Korean martial art, but I've done karate for a few years. So it would be really cool to do like the Olympics. But I can't do WKF karate because none of the karate I've done is Japanese. Like I've tried to and I like maybe I'll find a way. Maybe there's like a loophole. They won't ask for a specific certification or whatever. But like there's a lot of these things where it's like you're supposed to be a like Japanese karate person and you can demonstrate like show your like traditional certificate or whatever. And like I just didn't even know. Like, yeah, I knew Tang Soo Do was a Korean martial art, but like I didn't know that I couldn't do a lot of karate tournaments because it doesn't count. Even though if you've done it, it's the most karate thing you could do. Like Norris is a Tang Soo Do guy. Like that's the claim to fame. Like Cobra Kai is Tang Soo Do. Like that's which used to just be like suspicion, but like now they've just come out and said it in the show, which is awesome. Like you don't know that what you're doing necessarily. Anyway, to your original point, yeah, no, I would love to be like the World Tang Soo Do Association's like affiliate for karate combat, be that one that represents and try and get a few more in there.
Yeah, wow. I think let's continue talking as you keep going on your journey.
Gonna lose.
And when the time comes, I it took me 2 years or 3 years to get in touch with the karate combat people, but I do have a contact there. So when the time comes, let's get
Nice.
to talking to them. But yeah, karate combat was pretty frustrating because I had all these commentaries. They're okay with me commentating, but I didn't officially know until like I had all these commentaries. I was like, they seem pretty like professional. I don't want them to like treat me like how UFC treats a lot of channels and be like,
Yeah,
no,
you don't want to
you
get
can
like
never
sued.
cover us. So like I couldn't get in touch with them. I tried everywhere to get in touch with them for like 3 years. I finally got in touch with someone. But yeah, so I can cover them and I should cover them more. It was so frustrating to like have to spend like 3 years trying to find someone. And so now it's like my kind of passion for covering karate combat's not there anymore. But yeah, so that's the funny story about me and karate combat. It's not that I don't support them. In fact, I love them. It's just
Yeah,
my commentary
your
for them. It's like
personal.
yeah, it's just like the I have so much to cover. I always got stuff to cover, and it's just like karate combat was one of those. Okay, eventually I'll get back to it.
I think that when you get a chance to get back to it, you'll really like hearing about some of the different backgrounds of these people, especially like they just did like an amateur tournament. They're doing like a new series of like an amateur tournament for like a pro contract. And I was gonna apply, like I had the email ready, I had everything filled out, and they were like, there was like a thing at the bottom. It was like, if you can't be there to film on this date at this time, don't bother applying. Wait for like the next one. And it was like the next day. I was like, well, I'm not gonna get to Miami and make weight to fight tomorrow. So I guess we'll hold out on that.
I see. So there's
But
a lot of opportunity for that new show. I didn't know they had this kind of like amateurs compete for a contract thing, but that's awesome.
they
I'm
just
glad.
started it. They were like, it's gonna be like the Ultimate Fighter. We're gonna do like 2 minute rounds and you get the sleeveless gi top like Cobra Kai. I'm like, that's awesome.
Wow.
Like really like good to acclimate people. But there was a guy that was just on there that's like, I mean, looking at some of their backgrounds, like I had to look him up after, and I'm trying to find more on him because his name is like Saeed Hussein, and he's like a um amateur Thai champion and karate champion from India. And he's like, I grew up doing karate, like my parents made me do karate, and I loved it, and I'm still stuck with it. And you're looking at him, and in every photo and video, it's like a different affiliated thing. It's like a different type of karate with like a different rule. And like I know that some people it's like karate's karate, whatever. But I'm looking and I'm like, okay, that's a WKF patch. That's a Kyokushin gi with the soft like fabric gloves. And then I'm looking, I'm like, okay, you're just like a wake, like I'm just like going down the Instagram. I'm like a Wako kickboxer with like the sport karate outfit. Like, what is your I just want to know more about you. You've done it all. Like that's what I just think it's cool, like to see the different backgrounds going into that is cool.
Yeah, totally, totally. Um, Raymond Deckers was on it, right?
Raymond Daniels.
Oh, not Deckers. Okay, okay. I was like, I remember there's
Lo-
a Raymond. Not
Love Raymond
wow.
Deckers, but I don't think he'd be a great job at that now.
Yeah, Raymond Deckers a little older. Yeah. Daniels. I was like, I thought I
Yeah,
saw
no,
Raymond Deckers. I'm like, okay, no, no, Raymond Daniels. Okay. Wow.
yeah, he's the sitting champ at unfortunately the weight that I would be at. So, or no, sorry, no, he fought the sitting champ,
Hmm.
Rafael Agaev, where it's like, and I think that's cool too. Like they had each other, and you got Raymond Daniels, who's like the American sport karate guy.
Hmm.
And then you got like Rafael Agaev, who's like the Japanese karate, like WKF style guy. Like they're both the height of like what it means to be a karate person.
Yeah.
Now they're facing off in a full contact, no point stop rule. Like, I mean, that was a perfect matchup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you care about karate, you're like, wow, this is the fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it looks like I gotta I gotta cover some because Gabriel Varga was on it too. I remember he was talking about it. His fight came out. I forgot. Wow. Yeah. So like,
Yeah, yeah. He's had three or four,
wow.
3 or 4 fights. Right in line for like a he was his last fight was a number one contender fight, and I won't spoil how it went,
Hmm.
but his goal is to get back to that belt because that's one of the few belts that he doesn't have in kickboxing.
Yeah. He's so talented. Wow.
I love Gabriel Varga. He came and he taught a seminar at my gym, and he's just been so nice and receptive since. Like we've talked twice ever, so like I'm not gonna act like we're
Wow.
best friends or anything. But the
Hmm.
fact that he was willing to like still answer questions after the seminar is like that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Cool. Well, I guess potentially I'll look at the Gabriel
The most
Varga.
Canadian man
Yeah.
ever.
Ah, that's so funny. I think this is a good stopping point. Let's definitely bring you back. You have a film
Thank you.
interest, which is awesome, and then you're a martial artist, so we definitely have a lot to talk about. In fact, if you want, I have a movie channel where I sometimes review movies or talk smack about movies. So if you ever want to join that, we can
Oh,
find a
cool.
movie and talk smack
I
about,
would love that.
yeah, like yeah. So that could be another way we do some fun collabs or whatever. So I'll let you know more about that if
Yeah,
I ever find sort of the motivation to do more on the channel. Just I always want to do movie reviews, but the heart's not into it. I'd
but
rather
who has
talk
the
about
time?
movies, but hey, if we just like get together and like people do podcasts about movies, right? That could be fun too. So
Yeah. No, I'd
yeah.
love that.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So I think there's a lot more to bring Justin back on. But, anyways, guys, this was Justin. A great conversation. And for those of you watching, whether you want to give him some support or leave comments or whatever, feel free to do whatever. And I found your channel. So, final thing for everyone watching. I didn't know if Justin was the Justin that always commented on my video, but I just searched his full name and I found his YouTube channel. Okay, that's his channel. So it's not the Justin. Because when he first joined, I was asking him before I started recording, I was like, "Are you this Justin?" He's like, "Oh, no, that's not me." So,
Sorry. Like
yeah,
no
exactly.
disrespect to that guy, but not him.
Cool. So, for everyone watching, man, thank you guys so much.